Hey guys, welcome to another episode of I Kinda Got a Beard Growing, Critical Beard Podcast, episode 4.
Those are nice.
I'm Meatball.
I'm the Cardinal.
He's the Cardinal. Yeah, we got another beautiful episode.
Beautiful.
It's gonna be nice.
Filled to the brim with content.
It's good. Our content cup overfloweth.
We have so much quantity, you won't even care about quality.
That's my tagline.
Well, not quantity as in inches or anything. I mean, you can't measure it, but it's like, So anyway, we have a packed show for you this day, and we're going to start with a little segment we like to call "What You Playing."
What you playing? Not what are you playing at? That's a different segment.
Meatball, can I talk?
Sorry.
What you playing?
Pretty much the same thing I was playing last week. I mean, I had substituted Crisis Core for Animal Crossing.
Same game, basically.
I mean, really, when you boil it down,
same game.
Same game. There's like little guys running around. But yeah, Animal Crossing. I'm loving Animal Crossing. I can't explain why I love it. It's like the dumbest thing ever, but
so much of that game is bad, but it's so good. Also,
or it's not bad, but it reminds me a lot of Pokemon, where like they do such. Like we said with the Final Fantasy VII remake, it's like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. So it's like these tiny little incremental iterations where like you can't I can't look back at New Leaf and say that it's a better game, because like they do a lot of things on New Horizons that's just better and cooler and funner. But it's not like it's like Pokemon, where it's just like it's still not where like it's not a modern catering experience. It's very.
It's just there's so much, like at this point, I almost feel like when I go through and I'm picking the fruit off of my trees, it seems like there should be something, because that's not what's fun about the game. The game is not fun because I get to shake 1,000 trees every day and pick up all the fruits off the ground. Like there should be something that you get, like
but you do.
A basket. You get a basket and you can auto collect everything instead of having to shake every
Yeah,
tree.
that's what I'm saying. Like there's not a lot of convenience features, quality of life.
It's just so
whatever. One thing, my one oh yeah, it's Nintendo. My own one real complaint with the series is they have not integrated any kind of multiplayer mini games. Like,
yeah,
why can't someone come over to my island where I've set up like a soccer field and we can play soccer or something?
But you can build a soccer goal.
But I can build a flipping soccer goal, but I can't play on it.
Or like the pool table. Like I have a pool table. I have a game room in my Animal Crossing. I made this, like, I have like an arcade machine, a pool table, a synthesizer, a couch. This room is dope.
That is dope. That sounds like your game room in real life.
Oh shit. Bring the pool table in, guys. But yeah,
they already took away the game thing.
You can't
play video games anymore.
Yeah, and that was on GameCube. You could play video games on your video.
That was before Nintendo figured out they could not like monetize, virtual console and download and stuff.
At that point, just make some fucking WarioWare games that we can play, man.
Just mini game.
Just whatever. Some stupid shit. Come on. I don't know. Whatever. It's a great game.
It's still a super great game.
It's
and I'm still playing Xenogears. Of course, that's going to take me like 100 hours to beat. So, and I know what to do, and that's still like 80, 100-hour game.
How many discs is that? 4 or 5?
It's a 2-disc.
It's 2 discs.
It's only
because there's not a lot of like
there's about right? Yeah, there's like 35 minutes of anime cutscenes.
I mean, not FMV. I don't know what I'm talking about.
FMV, full motion video.
Yeah.
There's only like 35 minutes of it, but it's like really badly compressed anime footage. It's not like some type of like Final Fantasy VII. Like
it's like the Lunar.
Yeah, like super badly like dubbed, like that classic like 1997 like JRPG anime aesthetic. You're like,
what is going on here?
Yeah, exactly. It's like a Hong Kong fighting film or something.
Amazing.
Yeah, yeah. What are you playing? What you playing?
I play playing Resident Evil 3 remake, and it's fine. It's not nearly as good as the second one. 2 had this cool thing where like there was the replay value because you had the 2 characters, but it's just also in general it was a Metroidvania. Even though we hate that word, it was kind of a Metroid game. I mean, you did go through, you found upgrades to your shit. You explored the same area over and over again. This one's a lot more. You're just going.
That's kind of how the first one was, right? If I remember correctly, it was kind of like a explore, find item. It was more puzzle based.
Yeah, but in this one, I don't remember in the original if you got upgrades and stuff, but like in the second one, the remake last year, you got like cool upgrades and stuff that would like make your weapons more efficient. You got like space upgrades for your inventory. So it almost it felt more like a Metroid game, a Metroid horror game, which is great, like a perfect way to do like that kind of game in a enclosed space, and like a police station that for some reason is like a magic museum. I don't know. And then in this one, it's just pretty linear. You're just kind of keep going. Yeah. So like,
see, I never really played the Resident Evils back in the day. So I don't like. Was that the way the original 3 was? Like, was it different than 2?
Yeah. The original 3 was much more action focused and linear. It was meant to be. Actually, they talk about it. The original creator, it was always meant to be sort of just an expansion on 2.
Yeah, I think I remember hearing about that.
It was never meant to be its own real life game. Yeah. And actually, what they wanted to call they even say it's basically Resident Evil 2.5. They wanted to call Code Veronica on Dreamcast Resident Evil 3. That was the actual Resident Evil 3. Yeah. Because in Resident Evil 3 remake, spoilers for like a 1,000-year-old game, you do go back to that like police station, and there's like a bunch of areas that are the same from. So like
it seems lazy. Like in modern times, it's like, wow, I'm back. I was here the last game.
And as much as I like Jill, like, I mean, I don't know, Leon and Claire to me were just always cooler characters. You had that like that really cool black cop that was from the second one. He was like my favorite character in that whole game. There's nobody that cool in this one. There's nobody that like you, and you slowly got to see that character like go from like he like saves your life, and then he slowly turns into a zombie throughout the game, and it's like really heartbreaking when he does. And it's like such a cool setup. And this one's just so linear, and you meet this guy Carlos, and he like saves your life. They change a lot of stuff about the game. I don't know. It's not bad. It's still mechanically really good. It's Capcom. And
do you think they're gonna remake 4? There's buzz of. It's so weird to me because it's still perfectly accessible and playable.
They're going to be like Resident Evil 7 remake. They're like, wait, that came out.
Wait, that came out like 3 years ago. What the heck?
Wait, you mean a remaster? No, we're remaking it from the ground up. This time it's going to be a top-down shooter.
It's going to be like Berserk.
on Dreamcast?
So are you? Is that the only one? You're playing Predator, right?
So I'm playing. So yeah, Resident Evil 3 is fine. I need to play more of it. And then I'm also playing Predator Hunting Grounds, which is, it's the original clicker.
Oh, yeah. I forgot like the Last of Us clicked like that, too.
Yeah, right.
I totally forgot that they did that.
If clickers had fucking rocket launchers on their
they just totally stole that, didn't they?
Totally.
I didn't even realize they totally stole that creepy effect.
The clicking. Yeah, the clicking.
What the heck? That's such a good effect.
I'm surprised not more people have brought that to life.
I've never made the connection. Well, I only really played that game through once. So.
So it's a little bit. I mean, it's a little different. Whatever.
Yeah, it's a little different. Whatever. One rolls, one statters, whatever.
So it's a 5-player game where four people are soldiers, these mercenary soldier type characters, and you play it from the first person perspective, kind of like a Call of Duty or whatever. And then the other player is the Predator. So the thing is, the 4 soldiers do not know the Predator is there. You're actually on your own mission to just every it's like it's all in the jungle, and most of it is just like go here and collect these things from these terminals, or collect these things, or like
no urban jungle yet.
It's the classic action game.
Do they
like,
have the Predator music though?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's actually it plays in it loops as you're looking for matches. That's what you're hearing.
That's awesome. I freaking love it. But like people do not talk about how great the Predator score was. It's a cool melody. It's a cool.
Is the same guy who did Terminator did Predator?
How?
Those themes are
I don't
really
think
similar.
So.
They're really similar.
They are kind of similar though.
Because they both have that like driving.
Comment below.
Yeah, let us know. Because there's no way we could have looked this up for the show.
Hey Jamie, could you look that up for us? We have our own Jamie over here.
Jamie's on it. So
can you pull that up?
So you can either play on the fire team, or and then you have the option. So you can hit like quick match, and you can hit like doesn't matter preference any. You can hit quick match preference Predator or quick match preference Soldier. If you hit preference Soldier, you're going to load in way quicker. If you hit preference Predator, you're going to wait for like 5 minutes when you find a match because everyone wants to play Predator right now.
Yeah. Oh, obviously.
That being said,
Predator.
Actually, both sides are fun to play as. Now, to preface this all, this game is messy as fuck. This is in no way a 10 out of 10.
It's the same developers as the Friday the 13th game, which was also sloppy but a fun experience.
That's exactly what this is. Even better though, because whereas that was sloppy to like too much, this is still sloppy. It's in no way is as polished as a Call of Duty or Assassin's Creed or whatever, you know. But it that doesn't really matter at this point because the thing is it's bad, but the movies were bad. Not like the movies are great, but they're like bad. You know what I mean?
I can't totally agree. Not with the first one. Maybe the second one.
Okay, the first one is a good movie, but like even when it's good, it's still like it's still funny. It's still that cheese, that 80s, that just like that funny, like fun. It's fun. Okay,
fun.
It's a fun movie. The first one is definitely the best one. Of course, it gets worse after that. But like it's still fun to watch, even if you're watching the shittiest like Alien versus Predator movie. It's still fun to an extent.
AVP 2 Requiem.
It's still fun though. You know what I mean? You're not going into this thinking you're going to watch the next Citizen Kane. Okay.
Predator Kane.
Calm down, Danny Glover.
Rosebud.
So anyways, I played quite a bit as the Soldier, also quite a bit as the Predator, and both styles are actually equally as fun. It's fun because you have your little strike team, and you're running around, and you're doing these objectives, and basically once the team gets these objectives done, then the helicopter comes in and they extract and they leave. And if you get out, if you've done your objectives and you've gotten out, you win. The soldiers win, right? The Predator is just there to stalk them while they're trying to do their mission and make it as hard as possible. And what's fun is, so there's lots of AI, just AI dudes who come at you while you're doing your objectives while you're the soldier. And as the Predator, you can actually jump down and kill the AI people for the soldiers just to confuse the shit out of them. Like, so you can actually be like running up on like a group of AI dudes and they'll just get like bombarded with missiles. And they're like, what just happened? And you're like, we're supposed to kill them. Did the Predator just help me? I don't know.
No, he's just hunting whoever looks good.
Yeah. And it's really fun, man. Because when you're on, when someone has their mic on and stuff and you're Predator, if you get close to them, you can hear them talk.
Oh, nice.
So that's really cool because
I like that.
Like, I was playing Predator and I because depending, it's very random spawn locations. And at one point I spawned pretty close to the group of dudes. So like I was already right up on them. Like at the beginning of the match, I just shot a rocket straight down and I had my little laser sight and they were like, and I just started doing like, shit, he's already here. And I was just like, and I just like shot a rocket. And they were like, disperse. And they all just like ran in different directions. It was like so funny. But I could hear them talking. Like that was like, that
That's
totally
cool.
caught me off guard. But yeah, it's a total mess. And it's, it's going to get better. It needs
I like games that are, sloppy.
But
there's a certain lovability to something that's,
it reminds me of like playing
put together the best it could, you know.
It's like playing Turok or something, you know.
Yeah.
It's like those games were never like 10 out of 10 games, and I always knew they were kind of like not great, but like
Yeah,
they're still fun.
A Native American guy from the future killing dinosaurs.
It's dumb, and it's sometimes we need dumb, and right now I'm totally fine with dumb. And yeah, I totally I recommend. And the game's only $40, whatever. Like I recommend it. Like why not? And yeah, if you like Predator at all, go pick it up. Or if you like multiplayer games, this is a good one right now. And yeah, that's about all I have to say about it. It's good. It's all right.
It's good. It's okay.
It's fun.
That's literally all I look for in a video game. Like, you know, like you always put I like to put like the categories of like, you know, graphics, sound, gameplay, but like fun factor is like that's the most important. That's the most important thing, man, because like all those things can be super low, but if the fun factor is high, then it automatically is like a net positive for me.
Well, think about it. Anyway. Like, if you were to rate like something like Animal Crossing as with all those criteria, right? You're like the graphics, like
actually, I do like the graphics.
I do too. They're charming.
It works perfectly for like everything.
But those are going to be subjective, like or like Link's Awakening remake or whatever. You know, it's like there's people who are going to not like the graphics. Or Wind Waker, you know, when that came out, people were like, but it's like whatever, man.
But something objective like the menu system or the lack of like ease of menu usage, that's objectively like not fun.
No,
that's not fun at all. But like the gameplay loop is so engaging, and it's just like it's the perfect like Pavlovian like, yes sir, may I have another? Yes, sir. May I have another? I can't stop playing that freaking game.
It's really addicting. It really is. Cool. So I guess
that is what we've been playing. Well, mostly you, because you had a whole you're our new guy. You're the new gamer.
Still playing Trials of Mana. I've bounced off it a little bit, but yeah.
You haven't finished it?
I haven't finished it.
It's a Super Nintendo game, man.
I'm kind of at that point where I'm like okay, it's getting a little repetitive. I'm kind of doing the same thing over and over again. Where's the carrot is getting further away from me, and I'm going I don't want to.
It's hard to go back to the Super Nintendo, that early '90s below gameplay design, because it's still coming out of that arcade style where like they didn't know how to do gameplay narrative integration, so it was just like just do the same thing over for 12 hours.
Because
it's a game.
Story will pull me through, you know, a good story or like good like other stuff will kind of pull me through a game, but like, you know, this one you know, the best part about it is the gameplay, the combat and the leveling of the loop, but I'm kind of getting to a point where I've been fighting the same enemies over and over for a while now, and I'm like, yeah, it's a rabbite. There's another rabbite. I'm
really?
Still fighting the rabbites.
Aren't those like opening area enemies? What the heck?
You still fight them like a pretty good way through.
See, and this is the you know, because like Final Fantasy VII Remake is a great example of like taking a remake too far. Where I feel like Trials of Mana might be the opposite, where it's like too clinical of a exact transfer, and some of those Super Nintendo era gameplay design, they're just not engaging anymore. Like I grew up playing that stuff, and it's just not.
In my opinion, stuff like Resident Evil 2 remake and Shadow of the Colossus remake,
they tweak just
those
enough.
Are perfectly balanced. Like it's like they did just enough to change, and they stepped just enough with the original. But like you said, that sums up perfectly what my feelings about 7 and Trials, both being Square Enix games, which is bizarre.
Right.
But
who'd have think they'd be doing so many remakes
and so differently? But anyways, that's me. That's what I'm playing. We got any news?
Yeah, we got some news. Not a lot of news. It's gonna be pretty brief nudes. If you guys have any other news, please send news. I guess we'll start with the short one first, and we'll get to the long one.
Yeah.
The short one. I mean, we probably won't talk a lot about this, but they just today. This is hot news. About 9 hours ago, I think. Hot off the press. Unreal dropped footage, tech demo footage for their new engine, 5 or V, whatever. Hold on, jumping from Arabic to Roman for some reason. Whatever. V looks cooler than a 5.
Unreal 5 running on the PlayStation 5.
Yeah, and it looks good.
It's really good.
It looks really good.
It looks awesome. The only problem is I was like, I want this game, but this isn't a game.
It's just a tech demo, yeah.
I mean, because you're watching, it looks like Tomb Raider kind of at first, but then the chick's like wearing more like this, like almost like like Egyptian garb or something. Like she has this weird, and then you're like, oh, this is interesting. And then she just flies into the sky, and you're
that part, honestly, like made me go, this is pre-rendered. This is pre-rendered. I'm like, oh no, it's not. That's engine.
Very impressive. For I think, and this is kind of where I think we kind of will draw both together, because Xbox also did their is it Inside Xbox? Is that what they call it? What do they call it? There's PlayStation has State of Play, Nintendo has Direct.
They're Nintendo Direct ripoff. Let's just call it what it is. Nintendo started it first.
I think it's such a good idea.
I think so. That sounds right.
And they released it was going to be their big gameplay reveal, and in this big gameplay reveal, we saw lots of not gameplay. So what I thought was very interesting was we actually saw more out of. I mean, we saw gameplay. People overblew it a little bit. I mean, we did see gameplay, but the gameplay we saw seemed to be more of like indie titles that didn't have impressive gameplay. Yeah, it was like stuff that looked like Diablo 3, and I was like, okay.
Like, oh, cool! I can go play Diablo 3.
The thing we did see the most gameplay of was what was that called? It was a first-person shooter. It was the only one that really looked next gen.
Rainbow
Death Arcade Sleep.
That's it.
I can't remember. Damn it!
I don't know. I only watched it out of necessity. I don't really.
Bright Memory. Right? That was what we called it?
It sounds good. All I know is none of those games like stuck with me. Just like, all right.
So what was crazy to me was how memorable that PS5 Unreal 5 like tech demo, how memorable that was for me. And
that wasn't even a PS5. That was not even lauded as a PS5 tech demo. It's an Unreal. It's an independent Unreal multi-platform
Unreal Engine demo running on the PlayStation 5.
Yeah.
And that was this extremely memorable little chunk, because I think it's because we saw like a good part of it, like behind the back of a character walking through caves and like ducking through stuff and bats flying. And
they actually talked about
predictive foot placement and shit.
Yeah, they like really talked about how stuff. Yeah. Now, we have to say like the caveat: this is not like
it's not a game.
This is not not even this is the game. This wasn't a tech demo for PS5. This was a tech demo for an engine.
Well, in a way, it's a tech demo for how
but the thing about
Unreal Engine would work on a PS5.
But the thing about a multi-platform engine like Unreal is that it looks the same across all platforms.
No,
dude. Nowadays, you can't tell me there's much of a difference.
Oh yeah, there definitely is.
It's so minuscule, dude.
Oh no,
did that run on Unreal though?
I mean, I don't even know at this point. I don't know.
Yeah, but I'm talking about specifically Unreal. Like Unreal is known for its like ubiquitous like margin of quality. Like, just kind of like whoop.
Like, so the Xbox One X runs things at native 4K. I have a 4K TV, and then the PS4 Pro runs things at upscaled 4K, which means it's not native 4K. It's just mimicking 4K. If you could, the most egregious one of these was Red Dead Redemption 2. If you played Red Dead Redemption 2 and you saw, I have them on both consoles, and it is noticeably different on the Xbox One X. And so is like things like The Outer Worlds, a few other games that were just like, I was like, whoa, this looks like way different. Like not like, I mean, I'm not saying it's like, oh, it's like a whole nother world. And of course, most Unreal stuff is going to look pretty much the same. But I wouldn't say it's going to be, you know, I mean, and that's why I was excited, because we were looking at what an Unreal 5 game would look like.
I'm definitely not looking at it that way. I'm looking at it more of just the engine itself, because I mean, the thing about like Red Dead Redemption, like they have their own in-house engine, so adapting that in-house engine to multiple platforms, which that in-house engine isn't made for every platform, it's made for in-house, so there's going to be discrepancies. But Unreal is made for literally like just putting it out.
I think it's the same.
But still, but for if it wasn't a multi-platform, I would agree. But since it's something like Unreal, but either way, we finally see something out of a PS5 game. That's like really impressive. You know what I mean?
Exciting to me was the fact that this was running on a PS5.
But what if
like gameplay of a person controlling a person walking through?
Supposedly, I can't trust that stuff anymore.
You know, to me, I'll tell you what. At the very base level of this whole thing, it just got me. That little thing got me more excited than the whole.
Yeah, that is a good. That is a good thing to bring away, because yes, that little 9-minute video excited me a lot more than that 40 odd minute long Xbox thing.
And
I mean I'm kind of biased because I don't own an Xbox, but I was still like, when I watch an Xbox something, I'm still always looking for that one thing that might make me go, oh, I might buy an Xbox actually, but it's yet to happen.
And I really hope, because I actually do love the console wars, you know, and I've always loved.
It's necessary.
I've loved that Nintendo for a while now has been just on this weird margin of society. They're just like the crazy nut job homeless guy on the street that's just like, buy my tinfoil hat. But like, he's also really, really charming, and you don't want to like
the controllers break off, and you could use them together. Yeah,
you don't want to ever call the cops on him because he's nice, and you throw him money.
He's too entertaining, you know.
He's like really entertaining, but he's like broken his shit.
It's like, dude, you've been doing this since 1880. Can you just take a break?
And then PlayStation and Xbox are both these like super hardcore businessmen who have all their shit together and go to work on time every day and make a ton of money, but like. Definitely Sony. They switch back and forth a little bit, you know, because you have the PS2 era, you know, PlayStation won that, and then they got too cocky, and then they kind of, PS3 is gonna be amazing. It's only $600, and then Xbox was like, nah, buy this, and then you can play fucking Gears of War and Oblivion, and everyone was like, fuck the PlayStation.
I still had a PS. You know what? You know why I was PS3? I think you know why.
Mm-hmm. Metal Gear Solid, and you know, because that was the one reason. That was like the main reason why I would always regretted not having a PS3. Fuck, I can't ever play Metal Gear Solid 4. Yeah, and that was the first thing I did when I first bought.
And it's never gonna. I don't think it's ever gonna be ported anywhere ever again. Because it's yeah. I'm just gonna call it.
Stop.
Maybe in like 30 years, maybe.
But I don't know. I think. But yeah, I mean, it's obvious that the 360 won last gen. They won that war. PS3 caught up.
But by the end, yes. Hardware wise, Xbox. It's almost the opposite. Like Xbox really faltered in the beginning, hardware wise, with the Red Ring saga, and then like not having a Blu-ray player. Because they pushed it out real early just to like.
I mean, once I got a PS3, because like. Everything was already, because at first, remember, like stuff like BioShock and Oblivion and all these things that were eventually brought to the PS3 weren't on the PS3 at launch.
And plus, they ran better. I mean, they always ran better on the 360.
Well, the Bethesda games did.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. I'd say probably I don't know. A lot of the games that I got to play cross-platform, like they just ran smoother and better on the 360.
And they won that generation, so then Xbox got conky, and they were all like, "Oh, we're gonna bring TV and fucking always on."
No one wants that. No one wants that. I don't want that.
We're gonna bring this fucking built-in Connect and charge you again. They did the whole, we're gonna charge you more, and PlayStation's like, "Well, we lost last gen. Let's charge less." And they're like, "Because we've been here," and they were like, "Let's charge less." And then what happened? The PS4 is like hands and shoulder, you know.
And the whole time, Nintendo's been in the background. Nintendo's been in the background the whole time, just like, "You guys like playing games?"
Yeah.
He's like. heard you guys like games. And everyone's like, oh, I forgot.
The trench coat.
Yeah, he's like, the customers are like, oh yeah, I forgot I'm playing games because I like having fun.
Yeah,
tight.
Yeah, the other guy, no, it's graphics. You don't even need to have
it's a home entertainment system. No, man, it's a video game system, okay? It's a toy. Let's be honest. It's an amazing multimedia toy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, everyone gets mad. I saw a post today that was like, we really need to stop calling video games. That's like so
it's demeaning to the art form.
That's so derivative. And
yeah.
Not derivative. That's so God damn it. What's the word?
Derivative. Demeaning?
No, reductive. That's so reductive to call it that, you know. And they were like, we should start calling it, like, you know, video
interactive
art or interactive experiences. And I was just like, they're games. It's a game, man. It's a video. It's fine.
Yeah. And I'm all for 100% calling video games art. Video games can be art. A chalkboard can be art. Literally anything can be art. If we didn't learn anything,
can be art, dude.
Yeah, if we didn't learn anything from the '60s, is that you can literally take anything and turn it into art. So like,
that's art.
Yeah, who cares?
Or don't paint it. It's still art.
That's still art.
It's good.
So like, yeah, video games are art. And so what? I'm still playing them and having, for one reason.
And so that's the thing. So it seems to me like I've never gone into another console generation this close to the launch of a console being so unsure
about a contender.
What's going to happen? And then of course it didn't help that they ended the whole Xbox, the Inside Xbox, with a gameplay reveal trailer of the Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which again was
my god.
I mean, and they go, it was in engine, and I'm like, yeah, but
but that's not what it said though. It didn't say in-game cutscene. You know what I mean? It didn't say in-engine cutscene. No, it said gameplay. Which
what people want to see is, we want to see what it's going to look like when we're playing the phone.
No, you know what people want to say? People want to see companies not lying to them. Like, that's what people want to see. Like, if it's not gameplay, don't call it gameplay. If it's in-game cutscene, call it in-game cutscene. Like, I don't know who you're trying to fool. We're not idiots.
Here's the thing. Just an idea for other, you know, like studios and
if you're listening
and companies. So remember when Nintendo dropped that they had that like mini direct, and they dropped it like just out of nowhere. And
which one?
It was the last one they did. There was one that announced BioShock collection.
Oh yes.
Borderlands and a few other things. But it was disappointing if you were hyped for it. But since it was out of nowhere, you couldn't give a shit, because you were like, well, I wasn't hyped because nothing told me that.
That's a whole nother conversation about hype, the hype machine.
Here's the message. If you don't have the next fucking Fable or the next Halo to show, or if you're Microsoft, or if you don't have the next fucking God of War or whatever, if you're Sony, then just drop your little fucking direct out of nowhere. Just fucking shadow drop it, because guess what? It's still gonna get. It's
your Xbox. You're gonna be in the news when you drop something like that,
and it's gonna be in the zeitgeist, and it's gonna be there, and you're gonna get a lot of hits, because people are gonna be like, whoa, bro, it's up. This thing's up. Whoa, it's crazy. They just dropped it, and then you watch it, and you can't be mad because you didn't have any hype.
Yeah. No, hype is it's a very dangerous thing.
Nintendo was so smart about that, because they were like, direct mini. They called it a mini, so you're already like.
So you're already like, it's probably just going to be like some updates on some games or something.
And it was out of nowhere. And to me, I think like the announcement of dropping BioShock and Borderlands on.
Which I'm probably going to rebuy Borderlands again.
I'm going to rebuy BioShock again because I want to play. BioShock Infinite.
I want to play BioShock Infinite on the pooper.
I just want to, you know what I'm saying? And and then those two were pretty cool announcements, with the fact that it shadow dropped was just like, everyone was like, oh, cool, we can't be mad about this because it just came out of nowhere. And then I think that people should do that more often. And
plus that leads to like people dropping things too early. I think that's another conversation altogether, but like Elder Scrolls 6, I don't know if you heard about another piece of news about Elder Scrolls 6.
Yeah.
We'll just segue into this. It was one of the lead designers on his Twitter. Can't believe we're covering freaking Twitter news. Christ. Lord have mercy. But like one of it's just like, well, I never thought I'd be covering Twitter news. But like it was like someone asked about the when's Elder Scrolls 6 coming out. We're all quarantined and we're really bored, and some good news would be super awesome. So when is it? Any hints? And like the guy said something, wasn't a rude response, but it was like a clinical kind of like nothing yet. And then someone else replies, God, I hate delivering this kind of news. I feel like a freaking middle schooler. And then he said, and then she said, can you believe that?
But what did he say next?
But then someone said some type of like, I don't know, some type of like passive comment. And then the guy just like, I don't know, he just like snaps at the person. It's just like, you guys should, goes back to, why would you announce Elder Scrolls 6 when you can't, when we're not even going to get news for it for like 3 years, 4 years? The hell's wrong with you? Like, why would you do that?
It's already been longer from the launch of Skyrim. It's been the longest wait for an Elder Scrolls game ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, someone posted a thing. It was like Elder Scrolls 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5. And
then they have this Starfield thing coming out, but they haven't even.
We don't even know what that is. That's probably not a game. They probably just say Starfield.
It's a multi-platform mobile experience.
I can't believe, man. There was a point in my when we were balls deep in the 360, and everyone was like, Bethesda and BioWare are just the two best fucking companies.
Now they're shells,
and now they're both just like cuckolds.
It's terrible, but like it's just that it's. I mean, that's kind of a random piece of news, but it goes back to just like these companies not. It's like they're so incredibly out of touch. Like one company is just straight up. I mean, it could have been an honest like mistype or something, but they haven't changed. They haven't changed its saying gameplay trailer, so we can assume that they did it on purpose. Like one company is just lying. And the other company is just angry at their fans who are going to buy their games because the company itself dropped a teaser 7 years before the game came out. I don't know. I got nothing else to say.
Yeah. What kind of game would you say Elder Scrolls is?
It's definitely a first-person role-playing game.
What would you say defines a role-playing game?
Wait a minute. Is this today's topic? Robin, you're a keen son of a bitch. Hey, you're getting pretty good at those segues, eh?
We call it a Robway.
Oh, Robaway.
Robaway.
That is a very good question, because that's a question I think about honestly pretty often, because it's my favorite flavor of something.
I think RPG is the same as punk rock.
You know it when you see it.
No, it's you know it when you hear it, but so many people call themselves punk. Yeah. And you go, that's just not punk. It's even if it's good music, I'm like, that's not punk rock. That's like it makes me so mad when people say like that and I have nothing against the B-52s, but people are like, yeah, this is punk, and I'm like, it's not punk. How is that punk?
But some people define punk as an aesthetic. Some people define punk as an attitude. Some define it as a cultural movement. Some people define it as a specific genre of music. Some people define it as clothes you wear. Like there's lots of different. I guess this would connects to RPG because there's so many different connecting tissues that can be called RPG. It just depends on who you're talking to, right?
Because technically, a role-playing game could be any game where you are playing a role.
See, but I think that's too. I think that's too much of a derivative definition of a role-playing game. Because you can say, "Oh, Mario Brothers is a role-playing game because you're pretending you're a plumber jumping on turtle shells." But I don't think that's what they meant.
Are you when saying Mario is not an RPG?
Yes, I'm saying. I know. hot take. Mario is not an RPG. Because if, well, I believe that the people who came up with the term role playing games, which is Dungeons and Dragons, they would not call it an RPG either. I think we have to go back to D&D. Not that you had to be D&D to be a role playing game, but I mean it all stemmed from there.
Yeah,
it was like mid 70s, late 70s, something like that.
My thing is numbers.
Yeah.
I mean, is the game is your character's abilities and attacks, are they quantified?
See, but it's not just that though,
numbers.
because you can say if it has to be. For me, this is like my at this point, this is my definition of a role playing game, not an action role playing game or a strategy role playing game, because those are just role playing game with something else injected.
I'll say something real quick. I do want to say that it does irk me quite a bit when people talk about stuff like Valkyria Chronicles and Final Fantasy Tactics as RPGs. I understand what they mean.
I think those are RPG. Those are blank RPGs. Like those are like, you could say like a strategy RPG.
But people put them as like, if you're looking at the top RPGs of all time, that shouldn't be in the category.
But does RPG? But what I'm saying is like there's obviously a pure definition where everything else, like Final Fantasy Tactics is an RPG, but it's a strategy RPG. That means that RPG is something separate from the Final Fantasy Tactics experience. It's like they took the RPG essence and then they added the strategy elements to it. Like, now what is that essence of an RPG? To me, it's closely tied in with narrative. It's closely tied in with character progression, not just mechanically, but also narratively, and also the how am I going to say this? Like the manifesting growth mathematically. So it's like because to me an RPG is also like playing a role. It's playing some type of story, and the through a story, like if you're reading a book, there's character growth. It's like an RPG is just taking that character growth and gamifying it by numbers. So, and you can add stuff to that. You can't really take anything away, because if you take away the story, then it's just like a number. It's just like a button pressing game where you're just pressing a button, and that's not really a game. But if you take away the numbers and the kind of the turning character growth into a game, if you take that away, then it just becomes a movie. It just becomes the narrative.
Yeah, there's a few examples that can kind of poke a few holes in that, though, and that's what makes this discussion interesting, is because even as many times as you think we got it defined, there's always that
something
one
else comes in. You're like,
where you're like, bitch, fuck. Because I mean, Symphony of the Night.
It's not. It's an RPG. It's an action RPG. It's not an RPG. It's an action RPG. So you can't call it an RPG.
Made a list of the best RPGs of all time. We never see Symphony of the Night on that list, but we do see Final Fantasy Tactics on that list.
Yeah, but that's
I don't understand.
But I think it comes down to the perception of it's like you get closer to the pure essence of an RPG-ness if it's turn-based. Like turn-based gets you closer to the essence of an RPG, and I think that's because you can actually see, because if you have, maybe Symphony of the Night's different. There are exceptions, but generally, if it's turn-based, then you're seeing what all those stats do. Like it's like Dungeons and Dragons. Like, but if you're playing an action game, there's not a lot of chances for you to be like, oh man, my vitality really saved me in that action move. Like, really?
But see, if I was describing Oblivion to someone, or I was describing The Witcher to someone, I wouldn't say it's an action RPG. I'd just say it's an RPG.
I wouldn't call it an RPG though. I think
you
the
wouldn't
pure.
call Oblivion an RPG.
I told you before, it's a first person RPG.
It's not
Because
always. You can play those games in third person.
No one in their right mind plays Elder Scrolls in third person.
It's
Okay,
about people in their right minds.
but no one does. It's not billed as a third person or first person, right? It's always billed as a first person. All
What
footage.
about old school like dungeon crawlers, like a Phantasy Star 1. Is that an RPG?
See, I feel like older JRPGs, like pre-90s, early 90s and before, and also it's kind of like mid-90s was the cusp point of like Western RPGs, and JRPGs before that were like the closest we're going to get to like whatever the spirit of an RPG is, because everything after that just started being a melding of genres. So it's like, because you had Dungeons and Dragons that came out, and then from that you had Ultima, which influenced like every Western RPG. It's still inspiring Western RPGs. And then you have Dragon Quest, which is obviously still inspiring JRPGs. And then you have like branches that come off of it. So I think like those two games, I think are like the quintessential video game.
So to be
RPG.
a pure RPG, you're saying it has to be turn based.
To me, turn-based because like I said before, like the stats are never fully represented in gameplay.
What if you're seeing
in
numbers
an action?
fly off of an enemy as you're attacking?
No. I'm talking like how am I supposed to see vitality visually in an action game? How am I going to see speed vision? Because most of the time, like speed stat, like in Symphony of the Night, like
well,
yeah, there's stat.
It's translated for immersion. You know, like so instead of like
No, but
you don't see the speed,
that's
like,
another thing. Like
you're
immersion, like, but the thing is, like an RPG, like it's not about like you need to see that crunchiness. I don't know. There's something about seeing it and making that connection, because if you see the numbers often, then it reminds you that your characters are growing. And when you see your characters growing, also going along with the story, it's like your mind goes, "Oh, they're growing as a person too." You know what I mean?
Yeah, and there's other interesting. I just had some. I more so came to the table less with my own definition of an RPG, because I figured you would take that. I came to the table
Very opinionated.
with some interesting games that you could throw out there and be like, well, like for instance, did I just disappear?
No, you're good.
Okay. For instance, I just I was playing Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. In that game, you have the system set up very much like kind of like Dark Souls, or very similar to Metroid Prime, and you have a bar where you level up. When you level up, you get stronger, you gain abilities, you actually get different levels, you gain different equipment, you do all this stuff. But I absolutely would never tell someone it's an RPG. Not even an action RPG. I would just say it's an action
adventure
game with
RPG
action adventure Metroidvania with some RPG elements.
You see, that's the thing. Like
But then
just saying those words, you said a hierarchy: action, adventure, with some RPG elements. Obviously, those RPG elements weren't expressed in a pronounced enough way for you to declare that an RPG. That's why I feel like turn-based. There's something about like having to. There's just something about like the stopping and like seeing your numbers actually do stuff. Like speed does stuff in RPGs, and like turn-based RPGs, speed does stuff. So vitality does stuff.
What about
all this stuff?
Combat systems?
That's the best. That's the best form.
Is it?
Hot take.
You're trying
That's
to
my
look at your
favorite.
stats and your stuff, and then you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
No, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. I'm teasing you because.
Oh, yeah, tease away. This is
I
how you
love to
get.
tease this guy. You know.
That's how you get closer to the definition. And that's the most important thing.
I think
what we're here for.
that that's not an RPG, and that is a Star Wars game. And then you have stuff like Knights of the Old Republic, which if anyone were to ask me what that game was, I would say 100% that is an RPG. There's no doubt in my mind that is not an RPG.
Yeah.
You have everything that turn-based combat. You have the character development, the
optional
story,
turn-based, which has been better, honestly.
Yeah, optional turn-based, which is another thing, which is a Fallout. In Fallout, would you say and that's kind of my point, right? Would you say Fallout is more of an RPG than the Elder Scrolls series because you can pause the combat?
You mean like Bethesda Fallout, or are you talking?
Yes. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, of course the top-down one.
Yeah. Like would I consider Fallout more of a? Yeah, but just because. Well, I can't say that with Skyrim. I think Skyrim and Fallout, especially Skyrim and Fallout 4, are pretty much the same level in RPG-ness for me. And that's kind of a diluted level that I don't really enjoy for long periods of time. Fallout 3, I think, and if you want to compare Fallout 3 and Oblivion has more RPG-ness to it.
But you can't. It's in one you have turn-based, and the other one you don't.
But exactly, it's optional. Like I've played 3 without using VATS, and VATS really doesn't do much, but just give you an added accuracy bonus.
But it slows down the game enough for you to see the stats.
Yeah, but the only stat it affects is accuracy.
No, I mean it slows down, because to me the part of the turn-based thing that makes it more of an RPG is the fact that it is letting you think strategically about your next move.
Okay.
So when you are like in an Elder Scrolls game, if at the gameplay is just a hack and slash, you're literally just smashing shit around.
It is, but there's a lot more layers than Fallout.
By this thing underneath your character that's you can't see. That's all these stats and numbers and shit.
Yeah.
Which is but with something like Fallout, it's the same as an Elder Scrolls game in all respects, but setting.
Yeah, pretty much. Can't argue that.
but you can pause the combat and you can go, what do I want to do next? So by that logic, Fallout
because it's not
more of an RPG.
Because that's not true turn-based, first of all, and like.
But what is true turn-based?
True turn-based. True turn-based.
We need to do another video. What is turn-based?
True turn-based is when.
True turn-based.
True turn-based. See, that's not true turn-based because it's entirely optional. It doesn't really change any of the gameplay except it raises your accuracy. And it lets you think, but that's not what like in Final Fantasy 1, that's not really why they did turn-based. They did turn-based because that's what Dungeons & Dragons did. And that goes back to Dungeons & Dragons, honestly. Like, because Dungeons & Dragons is all about... It's not about... It's about numbers, but it's not about numbers at all.
What about...
Now we're getting to, like, the core of, like... that juicy caramel core.
What is life?
What is life? What is the difference between a mechanical intelligence and a creative intelligence? That's really the core of D&D, because half of D&D is number crunching and the other half is creative thinking.
You're talking about the Turing test.
Oh my gosh. I'm a robot.
So let me kick you something even more interesting. What about a series that like changes throughout time and either maybe starts as an RPG and ends as not, or starts as not an RPG and ends as an RPG? Whereas like then it gets even more strange, right? If like the most obvious thing I think of is Mass Effect 1. If someone asked me if Mass Effect 1 was an RPG, I'd say yes. If you asked me if Mass Effect 2 was an RPG, I'd say not really. I'd say it's,
I don't know if I'd call Mass Effect 1 an RPG. I'd call it an action RPG. I'd call it an action RPG.
Because your like your literal like the hits of your gun are literally decided by your stat versus in 2 and 3 it's decided by your aim. So they, and Mass Effect 1 was originally supposed to be another Knights of the Old Republic, and then they had trouble with the license. I actually don't remember that whole thing, but it was supposed to be another Star Wars game, and then they sort of kind of either created their own world or whatever they did. But yeah, that's an example of that started, because that first game is very much like, even if you don't call it full on, I mean, it's obviously an action RPG, but like that game's very, very much an RPG, and down to the level of exploration. It had so much more exploration than the other games. It also had so much more.
That brings us to like
RNG and shit.
Like narrative consequences, because that also comes from Dungeons and Dragons.
D&D, yeah. Which is
it's obviously not to the degree of D&D. D&D is literally
which is something that didn't show up
infinite
in a lot of video games, RPG video games, until fairly recently.
Fairly recently.
Like BioWare, I feel like, was probably one of the first.
They were the big innovators. Yeah, they're definitely one of the big modern innovators. No, I think Ultima, some of the mid Ultimas kind of did stuff, but like not stuff that like changed the ending. You know what I mean? That's definitely a modern. But yeah, that's another thing, because like that. It's almost like once the technology caught up, the RPG core, the RPG-ness was able to go back and grab some of that narrative power that RPGs had, and was like, hey, look, we can take this stuff that we couldn't do, and we can actually put this in games now. And it's like, because with Mass Effect, it's like, it lost some of the crunchy math half of RPGs, but it also kind of gained some of the narrative flexibility of an RPG.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's other things too that go into like the Dungeons and Dragons, like you said, the decision making,
decision bacon,
bacon decisions. Yeah, like the choice, the consequences, and all that. I really, at this point, in my mind, I really don't think combat has a lot to do with an RPG. I kind of agree with you there that turn-based is a more pure form of RPG.
If you want to go back, if you want to follow the tree trunk, then turn-based I think is the purest. But I think it really does have to do with like reflecting. It's like a fusion of character gameplay growth of that, where the player senses it too. Like the character is going along with that narrative / gameplay progression. Like I think that's kind of the core of what especially like a modern RPG, because it's like, yeah, like there's elements of RPGs and like freaking everything now. Like everything has like some type of RPG growth in it. And I think the reason why everything has an RPG growth in it is because I mean, even companies that never made RPGs do it. It's because people respond to that. People respond to it because it feels like you are playing that role. Role-playing game.
Even in games that are so not, it's like, guys who play like RPGs are for nerds. I mean, even Call of Duty, dude. Call of Duty.
Exactly. I was about to say Call of Duty. Like if you're going to spend 200 hours, on Call of Duty Online. There's a pretty hardcore ranking customization system in that game.
Yeah, and like back in the early Call of Duties and early Halos, there was none of that shit. There wasn't. You didn't level. Your character literally levels up after matches. Yeah. And in Predator Hunting Grounds, same thing. After every match, you like, I'm level like 9 or 10 or something like right now, and you gain all like customization and weapon stuff and skins and helmets and all kinds of crazy shit. Like it's crazy how much that's
it's like
modern games.
Yeah,
it's almost standard now.
It is kind of standard. It's like they took, because remember in like the late 90s onto like the mid aughts, they like every game was obsessed with like bridging that game and film chasm that Hideo Kojima kind of started closing. Mm-hmm. It's like once that was closed, once video games became movies, it's like that basic narrative block was boom achieved, and then like the next stage was like, okay, how are we going to actually make these players feel like they're on the ride with this narrative? So they went. It's like everything is coming. It's like they pulled stuff from the RPG world, and they're like, oh, people get really engaged when they feel like they're growing with the character, and they feel like they're actually in this role. So they like attached it to that. Now everything feels like a hyper narrative experience with like role playing elements. Everything has role playing elements. I think that the end game, like in the 10 years from now, like everything is going to be like you're playing a movie that you control, and like there's like pure gameplay. Yeah, but it's going to be super hyper realistic. Choose your own adventure.
To me, what's funny is in this day and age, it's almost like you need a disclaimer if a game's not going to have RPG elements. You know, it's like if I boot up Uncharted and like I don't like get like a better gun. Like I actually thought it was kind of jarring in Uncharted 4 how like my guns didn't like upgrade throughout the game, and I didn't keep the old ones and stuff. I had to just get rid of guns, and I was like,
yeah,
this is bullshit. And I was like, wait, this isn't something I should be mad about, but like it's just I'm so
just a different,
so expected.
Yeah.
Even stuff like The Last of Us that has RPG elements. Like you do like go to a workbench and you like
you craft your guns, things, yeah,
upgrade your health and all that shit. Like it's crazy how.
Heck, dude, even
all of the Ubisoft games.
Animal Crossing, even Animal Crossing has crafting elements now, which I mean, crafting derives from survival, which is just you're playing the role of a survivalist.
It's the Animal Crossing's always had elements of somewhat of an RPG, like not the same level that we think of, but
I think you're right though. I think it's more of like a really like unspoken, because like I'm playing the heck out of this game, and I jump on and I'm like, oh man, freaking Annabelle's here. Yes, I love Annabelle, and I go talk to my anteater friend. And I'm just like, wait, why am I excited to talk to my virtual? You know what I mean? To my virtual anteater friend. Well, it's like I'm obviously like engaged in this growth of like meeting, like getting new people to move in and expanding my village and expanding my house.
And with even in Doom, Eternal, you have like a skill tree, and you literally have a skill tree. You level up.
Doom has RPG elements.
You have guns.
We've reached peak fusion. Doom has RPG elements.
The game that was made as like the anti-RPG, the like RPGs are for nerds. Play the game.
Losers.
And now it's like, well, hold on.
I need to upgrade the shotgun. I need to add the attachment that lets me set people on fire.
It's crazy. I mean, I'm literally
playing.
I'm playing Resident Evil. I'm playing a Predator game. I'm playing Resident Evil Remake. I'm playing Doom, and I'm playing these games that should not have ever had RPG elements.
Yeah.
So you never think, you're like a Predator game. Yeah, Predator levels up.
I think it shows that like
you level up, it's fine.
Because tied back to what we said before, like the main reason people play games is to have fun. The secondary reason, or maybe not the reason, but the secondary drive people play games is to play a role. Because that's what a game is. You're pretending that it's like when people play soccer, like why it's like if an alien who had no concept of games or sporting saw that, they'd just be like, what is the purpose? Why are you playing the role of someone who's trying to get the ball into the thing? So like at its core, it's like role playing games have always been, the role playing aspect of gaming has been there since the dawn of time. It's just now the technology is able to like fuse everything together. Games are getting crazy. I never thought. I mean, we're old, so like, I honestly cannot like. I remember playing Mario Brothers in like 1988 and like looking at freaking Death Stranding. Just like, I mean, Death Stranding is pretty much Mario, but like,
it is.
It really is pretty much Mario.
And I mean, that's really what it is. Games. You know what? Video games are cool, man.
Video games are cool. Let's discuss. Actually, all video games, it's almost like we went totally like backwards. We went back to the beginning. We're like, yes, all video games are role-playing games. It's like we started this conversation with, no, not every game. Mario is not a role-playing game. Take it back. Mario is a role-playing game.
You know what else, too, is I think that in some way, I think RPGs are good for people who, and I mean, this may be controversial, but like I don't think I'm very good at video games as much as I play them.
Not that great.
I also don't like being frustrated, and I think what's cool about RPGs.
I'm not competitive either.
Yeah, and I like a game like I've ever since I was a kid. I fucking love this about RPGs because I played Zelda and I loved Zelda, but it was like, man, if I can't beat this boss, I just can't beat this boss.
Yeah.
When I first played Final Fantasy, I was like, man, this enemy is super hard. And then when I figured out, like, my friend was like, yeah, dude, go like
fight some guys, get strong. See,
guys.
that's that growth.
Like, oh, I'm getting strong. I'm getting stronger.
It's that growth playing, makes you feel good.
Final Fantasy, and I was getting stronger and I was leveling up, and that's what when Zelda 2 came out. Here's another example of a franchise that has RPGs in it.
Never went back that far, but
I mean, some would say Breath of the Wild is the furthest back.
Yeah, that's true. They did add some pretty
I will
decent.
say Zelda 2 is an RPG. Zelda,
it's an RPG style, yeah, for sure.
And I do think that Breath of the Wild, in most ways, is also an RPG. I mean, other than I do believe that to be a very like a core RPG, even if it's an action RPG, you still have to have at least a bar where you level up. Because I think the more you fight somebody, the more you should get experience. But the fact that you do like level up your health, you do level up your stamina, you do level up your weapons. Like you find better weapons anyways. But when I first played Final Fantasy 1 and Zelda 2, and I found that like that gameplay loop where you're just like, oh, I can just like sit back here and fuck around and then just
that's really that's really funny because like I said before, like the two core tenets of an RPG is it's like you enjoy getting kind of tricked in a sense of like feeling like you're growing along with the character, and you feel like a sense of like empowerment because you're playing your mind is kind of you're playing the role of this character if you're going along with this growth. The other half is a narrative. For me, I got into RPGs almost strictly because of the narrative. So it's like, again, we're like the opposite here because like the narrative is like just sucked me in. I remember my first big RPG I played was Final Fantasy IV, and I remember like just the music and the story, and I'm just like, what is it? This is like you're playing a book, dude. This is so much more engaging than a book. Why aren't there more of these? If all books were just playable RPGs, I would be such an avid reader.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Like seriously.
Yeah, but unfortunately, books are still just for nerds.
Books are stupid.
But yeah, man. That concludes our discussion.
I don't think we got anywhere, but we said some words.
We know we were never going to get anywhere with this.
No, then there's no ending.
There's no ending to this. Thank you so much for watching the Critical Beard Podcast, episode 4. I am the Cardinal.
Meatball out.
We love you, and good night, sweet, sweet babies.
Weird.